Let me play the piano for a meal, Aria shouted inside the upscale Bella Elegance, her voice breaking, arms wrapped around 4-year-old Liam who was bawling from hunger. The room fell silent, crystal glasses. Clink, then exploded into mocking laughter. Manager Carter laughed loudly. Do you think this is a charity event? A filthy beggar with a dirty child wants to play for us? Before we begin, tell us where you're listening to this story from. Seattle, New York, or somewhere else in the world. And when it's over, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Let's start. A fine drizzle fell over Seattle on a September morning, soaking through Aria's tattered coat and making her shiver in waves. She trudged along the cracked sidewalk, holding Liam tight. The boy pressed to her chest, his tiny hand clutching her stained collar. "Mom, I'm hungry," Liam sobbed. His little voice trembled like a knife. Aria swallowed tears. Hunger had gnawed at them for 2 days. But she whispered comfort. "Wait, love, Mommy's trying." Traffic noise swirled. The smell of coffee drifted from a corner cafe. But to her it was all a blurry backdrop to despair. Liam, her little son, was her only hope. After his father and her husband died in 2020 during the pandemic, and after her mother left because of addiction, all the burdens fell on Aria. Keeping this boy alive had become a battle. She adjusted the worn backpack on her shoulder. Inside were the piano sheets her father left behind, yellowed paper still carrying faint memories. The notes, like invisible relics, tying her to a lost past and pushing her forward. Each heavy step, each cold gust made her flinch. But Liam's trusting eyes kept her standing. How could she make sure her son would eat? That question dug in, dragging her back to harsh reality. Weary, Aria's gaze froze on the glittering glass of Bella Elegance, the elegant restaurant that stood out on the autumn street. Warm, golden light spilled from inside, painting white tablecloths. Diners' laughter chimed with the scent of roasted chicken and fresh-baked bread each time the door opened. She swallowed. Her stomach growled, then she saw it. The glossy black piano tucked in a corner, beautiful as a jewel waiting to be awakened. Aria's heart pounded. Memories of her father flooded in. Afternoons he sat at the piano, fingers keeping the tempo, his deep voice. "You have magic in your fingers, Aria." Since selling her mother's piano in 2022 to buy food, she hadn't touched keys. But today, holding a trembling Liam who whispered, "Mom, I'm cold." She knew she had to try. The rattle of trolleys, the tempting smell of food, the image of diners enjoying their meals. It all felt like a challenge, like a world of wealth opposing her ragged clothes. If I play, will they feed Liam? The thought sparked like a fragile hope. Determined, she pushed the door open. A bell jingled and a warm rush of air hit her, bringing both pressure and opportunity. That morning, a kind woman had slipped her 2 meal vouchers, the unexpected gesture that gave her the courage to step into this luxury. The guard looked at the vouchers and nodded her through. But inside, heads turned, whispers rose. Some frowned at the sight of her. Ripped jeans, a dirty oversized shirt, and dusty Liam. Manager Carter stormed over, face flushed. "What are you doing here? This place is not for beggars." Aria trembled but tried to say, "I have meal vouchers," Carter sneered, taking the voucher to look. "Voucher from where? Did you pick it up? Do you, a tattered beggar, deserve this?" Laughter rang out, cold, mocking. A woman shouted, "Call security!" while others raised phones to film, giggling. Liam wailed louder, clinging to his mother. Aria felt her heart shatter. Choking back a sob, she said, "A kind woman gave me the vouchers this morning. Please believe me." Her eyes fell on the grand piano on stage, and she seized the chance. "I can play piano. Could you let me play to trade for a meal for my son?" Liam's wide eyes focused on Carter, and he asked innocently, "Sir, my mom plays really well. Please let her play for you." Making a few diners actually laugh, though Carter continued to mock. "Fine. 5 minutes. If it's bad, get out. And if these vouchers are fake, we call the police." Arya sat at the bench. The old wood creaked. Her fingers trembled as they touched the glossy keys. She closed her eyes and heard her father's voice. "Let your heart speak." The first note rang out, soft, clear as a raindrop. Her father's piece rose, chords filled with feeling, loss, fragile hope. Tears streamed, but her fingers kept moving. The laughter died away, replaced by stunned silence. The room seemed pulled into the sound. "Who is she?" A question hanging in the air as the audience sat entranced by the piano's echo. In that hush, a gentle voice broke the spell. "Wait." Arya opened her eyes and saw Sophie, a server with warm brown eyes, coming forward, hands shaking as she carried a tray. "She's wonderful," Sophie said, voice choked, looking at Liam and Arya. "Let her keep playing, and this voucher is real." Carter frowned, but under the weight of the crowd's gaze, he reluctantly nodded. Sophie whispered to Arya, "You can take the meal. Please, just keep playing." Hesitant applause rippled out, like a belated apology from those who had mocked her. Arya wiped her tears. Her fingers continued to glide over the keys. The music told her life story, pain, hope, and the love she had for Liam. The smell of food from a nearby table reached her, fueling her, while Liam clapped softly, calling out, "Mom, you're great!" Among the crowd, a man in a gray suit at the VIP table leaned forward, his deep blue eyes fixed on Arya, as if hypnotized. Logan Hayes, CEO of Harmony Empire, cool but magnetic. His cologne trailed through the air, freezing time in the moment their gazes met. Arya's heart fluttered. A sensation rose inside her, both sweet and anxious, as if a door to a new life had just cracked open, while also hinting at a secret from the past no one had expected. The drizzle eased outside Bella Elegance, leaving fresh, cool air against the window, carrying the scent of damp earth and falling autumn leaves. Arya sat at the bench, fingers still trembling on the gleaming keys, tears and sweat streaking down her cheeks. Liam, 4 years old, nestled against her, his tiny hand gripping her shirt, exclaiming with simple joy, "Mom, you're amazing!" Hesitant clapping spread through the crowd, but Arya's eyes were drawn to a corner where Logan Hayes stood, tall in a neat gray suit. Those deep blue eyes seemed to draw her in. His cologne mixed with the scent of roasted chicken and bread from the tray Sophie had brought, creating a feeling both strange and warm. She lowered her head, trying to hide her flush, yet a strange intuition swelled inside her, as if he offered a door she hadn't dared to imagine after all her losses. Sophie, the kind server with warm brown eyes, set the tray before Arya, fragrant roasted chicken, warm bread, and a cup of milk for Liam. "You can eat your fill," Sophie said softly, kindly. "Play on if you'd like." Arya looked up, met Sophie's eyes, and a faint smile appeared. "Thank you," she whispered, voice thick, while Liam grabbed a piece of bread and gobbled it, crumbs at his mouth, shouting, "So good, Mom." Arya smiled, ruffling his hair, the gnawing hunger easing, but memories surged back. The painful days after her father and husband died in the 2020 pandemic, leaving her alone with her father's unfinished music. She clenched her hand and told herself, "I have to do this for Liam, for their memory." The clink of serving carts in the restaurant pulled her back to the present, where the crowd still murmured, some sneaking glances, but the mockery had faded, replaced by curiosity and surprise. Suddenly, a warm baritone came from the VIP corner. "You played excellently," Logan said, walking toward her with slow steps, his leather shoes clack-clack on the polished wooden floor. He stopped a few paces away, his gaze passing over her and resting on Liam. This little boy seems proud of his mother. He smiled, tone gentle but authoritative. Arya lifted her head. Her heart fluttered, not from fear but from the care she saw in his eyes. Something she hadn't seen in anyone since losing those she loved. Thank you, she stammered, bowing her head to hide her blush. Logan watched, his face shadowed by a feeling hard to name. He remembered his own dark days. Once a poor boy counting coins for bread until a stranger helped him. A kindness that inspired him to build Harmony Empire. She reminds me of myself, he thought, a desire to protect rising within him. He stepped forward, extending his hand. I'm Logan Hayes. If you don't mind, I'd like to invite you to my studio. A talent like yours shouldn't be wasted. Arya was stunned, her hand trembling as she touched his. A light contact, but enough to feel the warmth of his palm, a comfort after lonely years. I'm Arya, she murmured softly. But I'm not sure I deserve it after everything I've lost. Logan smiled, encouraging. Everyone has to start somewhere. Let me help you. They stepped out of Bella Elegance into the cool air, carrying the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. Logan led them to a sleek black car and opened the door for Arya and Liam. Inside, new leather and his cologne mingled, a stranger yet safe sensation. Liam sat beside his mother, wide-eyed, asking, "Mom, is this man nice?" Arya smiled, stroking his head. "Maybe, darling." Yet inside she wondered, is this a dream or a real chance after my losses? The car rolled down the autumn street. Streetlights glinted on Logan's face. A powerful man harboring deep sorrow. He stared out the window, thinking, she might be the key to what I've been searching for. A new musical legacy. Arya sat quietly, arms around Liam, her fingers brushing the yellowed sheet music in her backpack. A paper that reminded her of a promise to her father and husband, who were gone but whose strength pushed her on. At Harmony Empire Studio, a vast space opened with polished pianos, the scent of wood and scented candles lingering. Logan invited Arya to sit at one of the instruments, voice soft. "Play whatever you wish." Arya trembled, fingers on the keys, and her father's piece rose. This time smoother, like finding herself again amid painful memories. Logan listened, his eyes lighting up, then went still when a familiar passage echoed. A melody from a past he once heard, from the person who saved him long ago. Logan fell into silence, a strange premonition swelling inside him. Could there be a link between them? Liam, now restless, ran around the studio, knocked into a bookshelf and sent down a few old music books, giggling. "Did I make you laugh?" Which made Logan actually laugh, breaking the tense air. Arya glanced at her son and smiled. But Logan's expression turned serious again, as if he were digging into a secret. Where did you know that piece from?" he asked, his voice trembling. Arya was surprised. "This is my father's. He left it before he died in the pandemic, along with my husband." They stood there in the quiet studio, wrapped in the scent of polished wood and the soft glow of candles, their eyes meeting again. A wordless connection, as if fate were revealing itself. After a stunned pause, Logan spoke in a warm, low voice. "I once heard this piece from a stranger who saved me when I was a child." He sat down beside Arya, the distance between them small enough that she could smell his cologne blending with the piano wood, creating a strange sense of safety. "Back then, I was hungry, wandering the streets of Seattle, and an old man gave me a roll and a scrap of paper with this melody," he said, his gaze distant. He said it was a gift from his daughter, a musical talent. Arya gasped, her heart racing, not from fear but from a powerful hunch. "My father, he used to help strangers," she whispered, voice shaking. "He died in the pandemic, along with my husband, leaving Liam and me this music." Logan fell silent, his eyes fixed on her like he was searching for a missing puzzle piece. "Maybe. He's the one who saved me," he said, voice thick. Liam ran over and hugged his mother's legs, looking up with big round eyes. "Mom, the pianos here are so pretty. I want to hear you play more." Making Arya laugh and pat his head, and Logan laughed too, a deep, warm sound that eased the heaviness. "All right, kiddo," Logan said, lifting Liam onto his lap. "But I'll need your mom's help to tell the rest of the story." Arya watched them, a warmth spreading through her. For the first time in years, she felt not so alone. She sat again at the piano. Her fingers touched the keys. The piece rose once more, now accompanied by Liam's laughter and Logan's low voice weaving in, like a small family forming. Logan stood, walked to the bookshelf, and took out an old wooden box. "I kept this since that day," he said, opening it to reveal a yellowed scrap with the familiar notes. "It's exactly the same as yours." Arya trembled as she took it, tears flowing when she recognized her father's handwriting. Faded ink, but still clear, like a message from him. "My father. Did he save you?" she asked, voice breaking. Logan nodded, his eyes lighting up. "And now, I want to help you. Not only out of gratitude, but because your talent deserves it." He reached out, inviting her to stand. "Let me produce an album from this piece, for your father and your family." Arya hesitated, then touched his hand. A light contact, but enough to feel sincerity, like a new promise. They stepped out onto the studio balcony. Cool air blew, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and distant bird calls. Logan pointed toward the city of Seattle spread beneath the sunset and said, "I want to build a fund to support poor artists, inspired by your story." Arya looked at him, moved, not just by the offer, but by the shared resonance of pain and hope. I don't know what to say," she whispered, clutching the sheet music. Logan smiled, his voice a deep calm. "You don't need words. Let your music speak." Liam now hopped around the balcony, shouting, "I want to be a singer like Mom." And they both laughed, the sound echoing in the peaceful air. Discovering the daughter of his benefactor by chance made him want to care for them even more, beyond Arya's musical gift. He looked at her and felt as if fate had bound them long ago. For the next month, regularly, 3 days each week, she and her son were brought to the studio to practice. He had promised to produce an album dedicated to her father and her family. Seattle's rains had stopped, leaving shimmering droplets on the Harmony Empire studio windows, reflecting the soft golden lights like tiny stars at night. Arya sat at the piano, fingers gliding over the keys, but her heart was tangled. The scent of piano wood mixed with faint lavender candles wrapped around her like an invisible hug. Liam, the 4-year-old, curled on the nearby sofa, breathing evenly, his cheeks flushed after a pizza Logan had ordered. "Mom, I'm full," the boy had exclaimed earlier, tomato sauce smeared on his mouth, making Arya laugh. Yet now, when her eyes happened to meet Logan standing in the corner, her heart skipped. Arya overheard and felt her chest tighten. A spark of suspicion jolted her. "My mother. Is she being manipulated?" She gripped Logan's hand, eyes pleading, and he held her, whispering, "We'll find out, together." His warmth steadied her, giving strength to face the coming test. Liam ran in and hugged both their legs, chanting, "Let's go to the beach again." His cheerful shouting made them laugh, but it also reminded them of the hope for a lasting family. Arya looked at Logan, eyes locking, and whispered, "Thank you for everything." He kissed her forehead, the promise of forever echoing in the warm space, making the listeners melt with the healing rhythm of their love. Yet the dark secret still hovered, pulling them toward the coming climax. He wore a white shirt untucked over dress pants, sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. His deep blue eyes looked at her as if wanting to say something secret. His cologne, sandalwood with a hint of bergamot, lingered in the air, making her flustered, as if the whole world narrowed to their gaze. "Aria, are you okay?" Logan approached, his warm voice cutting through her chaotic thoughts. He stood close enough that she felt his warmth like a small fire warming years of loneliness. She looked up, her brown eyes sparkling under the light, trying to hide the fear rising in her chest. I was just thinking about Liam," she lied, voice trembling, fingers tightening around her father's yellowed sheet music. Logan smiled gently and sat beside her. The wooden chair creaked softly. "That kid is a fighter," he said, looking at the sleeping Liam. Just like his mother, his words were a cool breeze, easing her heart, but at the same time an invisible fear gripped her. Fear of loving, fear of being hurt, fear that this fragile dream would shatter. They were quiet, only the pendulum clock ticking and Liam's soft breathing. Logan leaned in, and his hand accidentally brushed hers on the keys. A feather-light touch that made her start, her cheeks flushing. "Sorry," he whispered. Yet his eyes did not leave hers, as if searching for something deep inside her soul. "It's okay," Aria answered softly, and she did not pull her hand back. The warmth from his palm spread, like a silent promise, making her want to run and to stay all at once. "You know," she said suddenly, voice shaky, "I haven't felt safe in a long time." Logan looked at her, his gaze tender but resolute. "You deserve to feel that, Aria," he said, his voice low as a vow. "And I want to help you find it." The studio door opened with a clatter as Sophie came in carrying a tray of fragrant coffee. "I thought you two might need a little energy." She smiled, setting the tray down. The coffee blended with the wood scent to form a warm, family-like atmosphere. Liam woke, rubbed his eyes, and ran to hug his mother's legs, shouting, "Mom, I dreamed you were playing the piano on a cloud." Aria laughed and tousled his hair, but her eyes flicked to Logan, who watched them with a gentle smile. "This kid is a real artist," Logan joked, lifting Liam onto his lap, making the boy giggle as his small hand patted Logan's cheek. "Uncle Logan, do you play?" Liam asked, eyes bright. Logan pretended to be serious and shook his head. "I'm terrible, but I know who's best. Your mom." Liam burst into delighted laughter, the sound breaking the tension and warming Aria in a way she had never dared to imagine. The next morning, cool Seattle air carried the smell of scattered autumn leaves along the streets. Logan suggested a short business trip to Los Angeles to meet with local music partners and speed up producing the album from Aria's father's piece. She agreed, although her heart was torn. The trip would include all three of them for recording tests and to gather inspiration from a new environment. So they stayed in a seaside hotel with separate rooms, but a shared schedule that allowed unexpected closeness. On the plane, engines humming, Liam sat between them, playing with a coloring book and shouting, "Mom, I drew Uncle Logan as a superhero." Aria looked at the messy drawing, Logan with a cape and a huge grin, and laughed, exchanging a look with him. Logan smiled and casually brushed her hand across Liam, a gentle touch full of meaning that made her heart flutter. "The kid's got an eye," he teased, "but the real superhero is your mom." Aria blushed, yet old fears of losing loved ones, losing her husband and father in the pandemic, her mother's abandonment, rose again, making her wonder, "Can I dare to open my heart?" In Los Angeles, golden sunlight replaced Seattle drizzle, and the salty sea air drifted in from afar. They checked into a small coastal hotel with a private balcony overlooking the ocean. That night, After Liam fell asleep in the big bed, waves whispered outside the window. Arya stood on the balcony, sea breeze tangling her hair, her thoughts in turmoil. Logan came out holding 2 glasses of red wine, the scent of ripe grapes drifting faintly. "Drink a little?" he asked softly. She nodded, hands trembling as she took a glass. Their fingers touched, warmth spreading and making her shiver. They stood close, the moonlight glittering on the water, waves serving as a soundtrack to hearts beating out of rhythm. "Arya," Logan whispered, turning her face to him, his deep blue eyes locking with hers. "I know you're scared, but I am too. Scared of losing this chance." Her heart thudded, breath heavy, his cologne wrapping around her like an invitation. He leaned in, his hand brushing her hair, the warmth of skin to skin melting her, as if all past pain was dissolving. "Logan," she breathed, voice trembling, then rose on tiptoe and their lips met. A gentle kiss at first, then deeper and more fervent, like 2 souls finding each other after years adrift. Breaths mingled, his hands tightened at her waist, the warm scent of skin and the sweetness of wine making joy swell, and fear of being hurt gradually yielded to hope. They clung together beneath the moon, waves witnessing an unspoken promise that this love would heal, steady, and not a passing storm. But in that sweet instant, Arya suddenly pulled back and pushed him gently away, tears streaming down her face. "I'm scared. My mother, Sarah, abandoned me because of addiction. Can I trust happiness?" Logan wiped her tears, caressed her cheek, voice low and warm. "I promise, Arya. I will stay with you forever. We'll face it together." His words were balm, and she held him tighter, warmth against warmth, his cologne entwined with their heartbeats. They hugged a little longer, kissing and laughing softly when he teased, "You kiss better than you play piano." A playful joke that made her smile through tears, mingled with the family feeling thinking of Liam asleep in the next room. The next morning, Liam woke and ran onto the balcony, shouting, "Mom, the ocean is so pretty. Uncle Logan, are you Mom's boyfriend?" Making them laugh awkwardly. Logan teased back, "That rascal. I'm trying, I promise." Laughter echoed, but inside Arya a shadow of a secret hovered, stirring her curiosity. "My mother, Sarah. Could she be connected to the thief who stole my father's music?" They returned to Seattle, but that secret hung like a cloud, making Arya determined to find the truth, while her love for Logan grew, healing wounds bit by bit. That morning at Harmony Empire, phones chimed. Logan took a call from his assistant. "Sir, there are signs the old sheet music has leaked, possibly linked to a woman named Sarah." October air in Seattle was chill, with brisk winds carrying yellow leaves scattered along the streets, and the scent of damp earth slipping through the windows of the Harmony Empire office. Arya sat at a desk, fingers trembling as she flipped through photocopied sheets of music, her mind in turmoil after the assistant's call. The printer rasped from a corner, paper smell and bitter coffee mingling like a reminder of the darkness closing in. Logan stood beside her, his hand gripping her shoulder, his warmth spreading through the thin sweater, yet not enough to soothe the gnawing worry clawing at her heart. "Sarah, my mother. She can't be the thief," she whispered, voice breaking, her brown eyes clouding, thinking of the woman who abandoned her for addiction. Logan bent down and kissed her forehead, his voice low and warm. "We'll find the truth, Arya. I promise." But in the wide office, with polished pianos lying silent under neon lights, a doubt hung heavy that made her uneasy. Who is the real betrayer, and why did my father's music leak? Suddenly, the office door squealed open. Assistant Ben rushed in, face flushed, tablet shaking in his hands. "Sir Hayes, we have a serious problem," he said urgently, his voice echoing in the quiet room. A rival company just released a demo similar to the old piece. They're claiming ownership and threatening to sue Harmony Empire for copyright infringement. Aria snapped to her feet, her heart hammering, breath heavy as if being squeezed. The smell of cold sweat spread, mixed with phones ringing from the desk. Logan frowned, scrolling through documents on the tablet, his deep eyes darkening. This isn't a coincidence. Someone inside sold the info. Aria stepped closer, fingers tracing the screen, her innate musical skill sharpening into analysis as she examined each note. "This is my father's piece," she whispered, voice choked. "But they altered it to hide it, tied to his past help to many people." A spark of curiosity flickered. Could my mother have been pulled into this scheme? Corporate scheming exploded like a storm, with frantic calls from lawyers and partners. Phones rang without cease like drums urging action. Logan paced across the gleaming wooden floor, his leather shoes clack-clack, voice decisive. "We need proof. A new composition to overturn this, to prove the true origin." Aria nodded, but her heart tore, fear of failure for Liam surging, making her hands shake as she touched the nearby piano keys. Amid the tension, Liam burst in from the waiting room, clutching a messy drawing, bright scribbles and colors, shouting, "Mom, I drew the superhero beating the bad guy." Aria laughed through tears when she saw Logan sketched with a piano weapon and a shadowy figure as the villain. "You're helping investigate?" Logan joked, scooping Liam up. The boy's delighted laughter cut the heaviness like a warm beam in a storm. "I drew the bad guy with a long beard," Liam crowed, pointing at the messy sketch. An accidental hint that made Aria and Logan exchange looks. Assistant Ben had a beard, and the suspicion hung heavier. Could Ben be the mole? Aria sank into a chair, hands trembling as exhaustion washed over her like those LA seas, sweat mingling with the lingering scent of Logan's cologne. He knelt beside her, fingers stroking her long hair, his warmth skin to skin making her lift her face to him. "You're strong, Aria," he murmured, his voice low and soothing like a lullaby. "I'm here. I'm with you." Her heart pounded, joy rising tangled with fear of old wounds, but his smile felt like medicine. He pulled her close, holding her tight, breath mingled, warm skin and the taste of coffee still on his lips. His hand traced her back gently like gliding over piano keys, whispering, "We'll get through this. For Liam. For our love. Forever. Nothing will break us." Aria squeezed him, feeling happiness swell, fear ebbing in that moment as if two souls had found peace. They clung, kissing lightly as he teased, "You're the most beautiful music I've ever heard." His playful laugh made her flush, and Liam ran around calling, "Mom and Uncle," hugging. The moment stretched, skin-close warmth, perfume entwined, heartbeats matching. A reminder that this love could heal, making listeners melt with rising hope. But the pressure returned with insistent phone rings. Ben appeared, pale-faced. "The rival demands millions in damages. We have 5 days to rebut with a new composition, or the empire falls." Aria stood, resolve flashing in her eyes, using her gift to spot a flaw. "They copied one note wrong. It proves they took it from my father's original." Logan nodded, voice firm. "We'll take the challenge. 5 days to compose against theft, to turn this around." Liam, now busy with his drawing, added a fleeing bad guy, shouting, "I'll help Mom win." His cheerful voice made them smile and fueled their drive. Aria gripped Logan's hand. "I'll do it, for us." A flutter of worry lingered. Will this challenge reveal everything about my mother? They began planning. The office felt taut like a stringed instrument, keyboards clacking, strong coffee scent spreading like fuel for the fight. Aria sat at the piano, fingers searching for a first idea, but fatigue crashed in, making her doubt. Do I have the strength? Logan wrapped his arms around her from behind, whispering, "I believe in you." Liam ran up and hugged her legs. "Mom, you're the best." That family moment, a small hope amid the corporate dark. The atmosphere in the Harmony Empire studio was heavy as an approaching storm. Candles flickering to banish the Seattle October night. Beeswax scent mingling with the old piano wood filling the room. Aria sat at the grand piano, fingers trembling on the keys, breath weighed down by the 5-day challenge. To compose and finish a new piece each day to combat the copyright plot and prove the true origin of her father's music. The pendulum clock ticked, counting down harsh seconds, making her heart pound. Logan stood close, hand gripping her shoulder, his warmth through the thin sweater, yet unable to chase away the fear of failure gnawing at her. "Today, you must begin," he whispered, his deep voice encouraging, his blue eyes locking on her like an unspoken vow. Aria nodded, tears falling as she thought of Liam. If the empire collapsed, what would become of her son? A lingering anxiety. Is my mother Sarah truly being manipulated? Or is she part of the scheme? The first 24 hours were hell, keys ringing without end, pages of music torn in frustration as she crumpled failed ideas. Cold sweat mixed with the smell of stale coffee on the table, making the studio stifling. Aria rested against a chair, eyes rimmed dark after hours without sleep, fingers aching like pins and needles. I don't know if I can do this," she whispered, voice breaking as fear swelled and breath grew heavy. Logan knelt and cupped her face, wiping her tears. "You're a genius, Aria. Let your heart lead." Yet in the strain, Liam burst in from the waiting room with a small cup of water, shouting in his childlike innocence, "Mom, I brought water for you. Are you tired? I'll sing you a lullaby." He hummed a clumsy melody that made Aria laugh through tears. The joyful sound cut the weight, a tiny hope in the dark. "My darling." She hugged Liam close, feeling his small warmth, and pressed on. A curious thought rising. Will this challenge uncover the truth about my mother? Emotions surged as midnight fell, rain tapping a sad rhythm on the window, making Aria question her past. Losing husband and father, a mother who left, and now an empire threatened by a betrayer. "I'm afraid of failing, Logan. For Liam. For us," she whispered, voice choked, clutching the yellowed sheet music. Logan pulled her into his arms beneath candlelight reflected on the polished floor. Beeswax scent wrapped them like a warm embrace. "I'm here," he breathed, fingers stroking her hair, warmth skin to skin making her heart stutter. Their eyes locked, two souls finding each other amid the storm, and he leaned in. A kiss that started soft and then deepened, fervent under the wavering candlelight. Breaths mingled, his hand clenched at her waist, the scent of his skin and sandalwood perfume melting her, happiness swelling while the fear of past hurts receded. "You are everything to me," he whispered between kisses, his hands gliding along her back like playing piano. "Our promise forever. We'll get through this." Aria held him tighter, feeling skin-to-skin warmth, heartbeats in unison like healing medicine. This love was steady, not a fragile dream. They clung, kisses mixed with soft laughter as he teased, "Is piano more charming or am I, my love?" Their laughter rosy with bliss, fear fading, making listeners melt to the healing rhythm of love amid the rising tension. But an unexpected twist hit when Ben, pale-faced, entered the studio clutching documents. I found an old email," he said breathless, his voice ringing in the quiet room. "A woman named Sarah was forced to provide the music. She was manipulated by the real betrayer, a rival executive." Aria sprang up, chest tightening, tears streaming as she realized. "My mother. She's the victim, not the villain." Paper rustled as she flipped through files, the scent of print ink mixing with the rain's patter, emotions exploding. Hope laced with anger, past pain swelling. Logan hugged her, voice steady. "We'll save her, and we'll turn this around." Liam, playing with an old drawing, shouted, "I drew Grandma. She's nice, right, Mom?" His innocent laugh made them smile through tears and gave them renewed purpose. The first day ended with an unfinished composition, but encouragement from Liam and Logan kept Arya going. The keys sounded smoother, like a piece of hopeful music in the dark. A restless question lingered. Will tomorrow reveal more about the betrayer? They held one another under candlelight, ready for the harsh days ahead. A weak dawn filtered through the Harmony Empire studio windows, lighting up crumpled sheets of music strewn across the polished wooden floor. The smell of ink mingling with the bitter, cold coffee from the night before. Arya sat at the piano, dark circles under her eyes after the brutal first 24 hours, fingers aching as they slid over the keys, breath heavy under the weight of day 2 of the challenge. She had to finish a second piece, more complex, to fight the copyright scheme and prove the true origin of her father's music. The notes came out in broken phrases, the October wind whispering outside, making her heart pound with the fear of failure. Logan entered, carrying a tray of warm rolls. The scent of fresh bread was a small streak of hope. He sat beside her and squeezed her hand. "You did day 1. Day 2 will be stronger," he said. Arya looked up, tears streaming, voice shaking. "I'm so tired, Logan. If I fail, what will happen to Liam?" A nagging question hovered in her. Will the stolen music reveal more secrets? Day 2 passed like an inner battle, the phone ringing with cold, threatening lawyers. "Harmony Empire will collapse if you can't prove it. We have the evidence." Arya leaned back, cold sweat down her spine, the lingering lavender candle scent from last night making the studio feel suffocating. She sifted through documents, analyzing each copied note. Her innate talent, a sharp blade, cutting through the layers of deception. "They took it from my father's original, but altered it to hide it." Logan nodded, resolute. "We'll turn this around." Tension spiked when an anonymous threatening email from the betrayer, a hidden executive, flashed on the screen. "Stop, or Sarah will suffer the consequences." Arya trembled, her chest tightening. "My mother. She's really being manipulated." A flash of curiosity and dread. Who is that person, and why target my family? In the middle of the turmoil, Liam burst into the studio holding a new drawing, bright, messy colors, and shouted innocently, "Mom! I drew Mom the superstar beating the bad guy." Arya looked at the chaotic picture, her with a piano crown and a sparkling star, and laughed through tears. His joyful sound cut through the heaviness like encouragement. "My love, I'll try for you." She hugged Liam, feeling his tiny warmth. Hope swelled and her fingers found smoother lines on the keys. Logan laughed too, lifting Liam. "This kid's the real superhero." The child's laughter echoing, mingling with a deep, familial emotion. Day 3 brought an even harsher trial. Keys rang without pause while pages rustled as she revised the third piece. A complex composition weaving in detective-like elements from her father's past. Sweat and strong coffee filled the air. Arya, exhausted, rested her head on the piano. "I don't know if I can get through this," she said hoarsely. The betrayer threatened again, in an anonymous call, voice distorted. "Give up, or the Empire and Sarah will lose everything." Arya shook with fear. But then Liam clambered onto the bench and played chaotic, cheerful notes, shouting, "Am I better than Mom?" Which made Logan burst into loud, warm laughter that cracked the strain and reminded them of family joy amid the storm. "Kiddo, you're a comedy genius," Logan joked, spinning Liam around. The boy giggled, and Arya smiled, regaining strength. Tension peaked as night 3 fell, rain tapping the window like a sad song, pushing Arya to question the past. How Sarah was manipulated, whether the stolen music was a curse. "I'm scared, Logan. Scared of losing everything again," she whispered, voice choked, clutching him. Logan pulled her into his arms under the dim studio lights. The scent of piano wood wrapped them like a warm embrace. "I'm here. Forever," he murmured, stroking her hair, warmth skin to skin making her heart thud. Their eyes met, like two souls finding one another in the dark, and he leaned in, holding her close. Breaths mingled, hands at her waist, wrapped in ordinary family intimacy. The warmth of skin and his sandalwood fragrance melted her, happiness rising while the fear of past wounds ebbed. "You are my strength," he whispered while stroking her back like playing keys. "A promise forever. We'll get through this with Liam." Arya hugged him tighter, feeling the heat of skin against skin, heartbeats synchronizing like healing medicine. This love felt enduring, not a fragile dream. They clung together, kisses and soft laughter as he teased. "Are you better at composing or at letting me hold you, my love?" The chuckle made her blush, joy flooding in, fear dissolving for a while, letting listeners melt to the healing rhythm of their love amid rising tension. Arya survived days 2 to 3 with 2 difficult pieces, tentative applause from Logan and Liam as reward, but the betrayer's threats grew more direct, leaving a lingering question. Does the stolen music tie back to the past when my father saved Logan? They held each other, ready for the final days. Pale morning light crept through the Harmony Empire studio windows on day 4, reflecting off the crumpled sheets scattered across the polished floor, ink scent mixing with the bitter coffee left from previous days. Arya sat at the piano, her dark circles deeper after 3 brutal days, fingers aching as they moved over the keys, breath heavy under the burden of finishing the 4th piece, the most complex of all, to overturn the copyright plot and prove the origin tied to her father's past. The notes came in broken waves, the October wind moaning outside, making her heart race with growing fear of failure. Logan came in with a cup of warm water, a hint of fresh lemon like a small glimmer of hope. He sat beside her and squeezed her hand. "Day 4. You're doing great. Only 1 more day," he said. Arya looked up, tears trailing, voice trembling. "I'm exhausted, Logan. If I can't reverse it, what will happen to the Empire and my mother?" A nagging thought hovered. Will today's twist reveal the whole truth about the betrayer? Day 4 unfolded like a detective nightmare. The phone rang abruptly from an anonymous number. The betrayer's warped voice threatened. "Stop composing or Sarah will disappear forever. She's just a pawn." Arya shook, cold sweat running down her back, lavender candle scent still clinging, making the studio feel more oppressive than ever. She flipped through the emails Ben had brought, analyzing old messages. Her innate talent sliced through the lies. My mother. She was forced, not the villain. She's a victim of a rival director who my father once refused to help. The final twist tore her apart. Imagining Sarah, the addict who had abandoned her, now a pawn in a dirty corporate game. She's not the bad one. She needs me to save her, she whispered, voice breaking, old pain crashing like waves. Logan hugged her steady. We'll save her. We'll flip everything. A curious thought sparked in her. Is composing melody for Liam? For the last day the key? While her internal world swirled, Liam ran into the studio with a box of colors, shouting, "Mom, I'll help draw the music." The boy sat and scribbled, notes flying like superheroes, making Arya laugh through tears. His cheerful noise eased the tension like a tonic. "You're my inspiration," she told him, hugging his small body. Hope rose and her fingers found a clearer path. She decided to compose Melody for Liam, a piece for her son, a mini-hook leading into the final day. Logan laughed, but then tried to cook a simple dinner for Liam in the studio kitchenette. Smoke rose when the eggs burned, and he coughed. I think we should order pizza." Liam's giggle filled the air, and Arya's amused chide. "You're a music CEO, not a chef." The moment of humor reminded them of family joy amid the storm. Tension peaked again as night 4 fell, rain drumming a sad rhythm outside, and Arya wondered how her mother Sarah had been manipulated, whether her father's music was a battlefield curse. "I'm afraid, Logan. Afraid I can't save her, or us," she whispered, voice thick, gripping him. Logan pulled her close beneath the candlelight, beeswax scent wrapping them like a warm embrace. "I'm here, always with you," he whispered, stroking her hair, skin-to-skin warmth making her heart pound. Their eyes locked, two souls finding one another in the dark, and he leaned in, kissing her. A gentle kiss that became more passionate, wrapped in flickering candlelight. Breaths mingled, his hands tightened at her waist, fingers gliding like playing the keys, his sandalwood fragrance and the warmth of his skin melting her. Happiness rising as the fear of past hurts softened. "You are my light," he murmured between kisses, stroking her cheek, promising. "Forever. We will heal every wound, for Liam, for our love." Arya clung to him, feeling skin-to-skin warmth, heartbeats sinking like healing strokes. This love was enduring, not a fragile dream. He teased, "Are you better at kissing or composing, my love?" Their soft laughter making her blush, joy swelling, fear fading in that moment, letting listeners melt to the healing romance amid the detective twist. Arya completed day 4 with a pinnacle piece. Applause from Logan and Liam was her reward, but a lingering mini-hook remained. Will Melody for Liam on the final day undo the whole conspiracy? They held each other, ready for the deciding day. Pale morning light on the final day slipped through the Harmony Empire studio windows, illuminating finished sheets of music scattered across the polished wooden floor, the scent of ink mingling with the fresh coffee on the tray Logan brought. Arya sat at the piano, dark circles still under her eyes, but a determined gleam after 4 brutal days. Her fingers moved smoothly, breath steadier as she completed Melody for Liam, a piece written for her son, like a key to overturn the entire copyright conspiracy and prove the origin traced back to her father's past. The notes rang clear, the October breeze whispering outside, her heart thudding with rising hope. Logan entered carrying a bouquet of deep red roses. The floral scent floated like an early congratulations. He sat beside her and squeezed her hand. "Today is the final day. You will shine. We will turn everything around," he said. Arya looked up, tears sparkling, voice trembling. "I will do it, for Liam, for my mother, for us." A flutter of anxiety hovered in her. Will today's performance undo the whole scheme? The final day unfolded like the climax of an emotional arc. The judges, lawyers, and partners gathered in the studio transformed into a small gala. Wooden chairs creaked as they sat, candles casting a warm glow. The betrayer sent a last anonymous threat via email. "Give up, or Sarah and the Empire will fall." Arya trembled, but gripped her score and stepped onto the small stage. Spotlight bathed her like a halo. "This is Melody for Liam," she whispered, voice choked, and her fingers touched the keys. The music poured out, each note heavy with feeling, loss, family hope, the healing power of love. The clean, clear piano touched the judges, leaving them stunned into silence. A tear rolled down one of their cheeks. Logan stood below, his deep blue eyes locked on her, heart racing as he realized the piece did more than prove origin. It exposed the conspiracy. The music matched the email evidence, revealing a copied note wrong, unmasking the betrayer. A curious thought spread through the room. Will Sarah be saved after this victory? Emotions erupted when the piece finished. Applause crashed like thunder. The judges rose. "You've won. The conspiracy is overturned. The empire is safe." Arya shook, tears welling, happiness and relief heavy in her chest. Logan rushed to the stage and wrapped her in a tight embrace, voice low and warm. "You did it, my love." They clung amid the applause, skin-to-skin warmth making her heart race. Their eyes met, like two souls reunited after the storm, and he leaned in, kissing her. A fierce, passionate kiss beneath the gala lights. Breaths mingled, his hand tightened at her waist, his touch as gentle as gliding over piano keys. The warmth of his skin mixed with the rose's scent and she melted, joy rising as the fear of old wounds faded. "I promise, forever with you," he murmured between kisses, caressing her cheek. "A lasting vow. This love will heal everything. We are family." Arya held him tighter, feeling skin-to-skin warmth and matching heartbeats, like a healing melody. This love was steady, not a fragile dream. And she glanced at Liam, clapping below. A light-hearted laugh made her blush with happiness, the audience melting at the healing rhythm of love amid triumphant victory. Suddenly the studio door opened and trembling footsteps were heard. Sarah, Arya's mother, was led in by a lawyer, her face pale but eyes shining with tears. "Daughter, I was forced. I'm not the villain," she whispered, voice hoarse after months apart. Arya was stunned, tears flowing as she stepped forward to embrace her mother. A warmth both strange and familiar, the salty scent of tears mixing with worn clothing, emotions pulling. Forgiveness, tangled with pain. "Mother." "I found the truth," Arya whispered, hands tight, the healing beginning after years of abandonment by addiction. Logan stood nearby, smiling. "Our family is reunited." Liam ran to hug his grandmother's legs, shouting innocently, "Grandma, Mom won! Uncle Logan is a hero!" Laughter burst out, the child's joy cutting the tension, like a bright stitch in their mending cloth. Arya looked at her mother, hope swelling, yet a lingering question hovered. Will this reconciliation last? They embraced, ready for the future. The Harmony Empire studio still echoed with the applause from the final day performance. Candlelight dwindled, beeswax scent lingering with the rose fragrance from Logan's bouquet. A warm tableau in chilly October Seattle. Arya stood on the small stage, breath still heavy from victory, fingers trembling as she clutched melody for Liam. Her brown eyes sparkled beneath the spotlight as the judges announced, "The conspiracy is fully overturned. The betrayer, the rival director, has been exposed through email evidence and the flawed copied music." Murmur ran through the small crowd. Papers rustled as lawyers signed confirmations. Harmony Empire secure. Arya was hailed as a true musical genius. She trembled, emotions like a multicolored flood, joy bright as a rainbow after rain, relief soft as drifting clouds, and a bitter aftertaste like cold coffee. "We've won," she whispered, tears of happiness streaming like waves, sweeping away corporate darkness. Logan leapt up and hugged her, his deep voice, "You're my hero." A fluttering worry vanished, replaced by star-bright hope. Can we now build something greater? The final reversal cleared the fog like sunrise. The betrayer was arrested. The emails revealed his manipulation of Sarah. Harmony Empire stood firm, and Arya became a symbol of triumph. Sarah stood beside her, hand trembling as she touched her daughter's. A strange but warming heat, like embers thawing winter cold. Tears sparkled in her eyes. "Daughter, I was forced. I'm not the villain." The family's healing swelled like converging rivers. Forgiveness like fresh green leaves, regret like deep purple dusk, and hope dazzling as golden morning. Arya hugged her mother tighter. The scent of well-worn clothes and salty tears moved her heart like a gentle melody. "Mother, let's start over," she said. Liam squeezed between them, hugging both their legs, shouting, "Our family is big and happy now." Laughter erupted, the child's voice a multicolored bridge that dissolved distance. But the brightest flame of love burst forth in the private moments that followed, when a small wedding took place right in the studio. A simple ceremony under candlelight on the polished wooden floor, rose and candle scents wrapping the space like a sweet embrace. Arya wore a simple white dress, hair down, her brown eyes locked on Logan in his neat gray suit, her heart racing like a symphony rising. "I take you as my wife," he whispered before the officiant, voice low and warm, hands clasped tight, skin-to-skin warmth flowing like a warm stream through a dry desert. They leaned in, lips meeting. A gentle kiss that deepened, two rivers merging, breaths in unison beneath the gala lights like stars. His hand smoothed her hair, gentle as wind over a field of flowers. The warmth of his skin mingled with sandalwood perfume, melting her like candle wax in flame. Joy exploded in many hues, fiery red passion, soft pink romance, and deep blue steadiness. "You are my forever," he murmured between kisses, caressing her cheek and back like gliding over piano keys, a vow ringing. "This love will heal every wound. We are one, as steadfast as the endless sky." Arya held him closer, feeling protective warmth, heartbeats matching like an endless song, while Liam jumped between them, hugging their legs and shouting, "Mom married Uncle Logan!" They chuckled, kisses and laughter blending into a rainbow of happiness after the storm, and the audience melted to the healing rhythm of love that followed triumph, where fierce passion met domestic peace. They lingered in each other's arms, kisses and whispered promises under the candlelight as Liam danced nearby, painting the family scene in bright colors: sunny yellow, warm orange, and peaceful green. Sarah stood by, smiling through tears, the final piece falling into place in the portrait of their lives. And in the midst of all that joy, a glimmering curiosity shimmered like a new light. "Can we found hidden melodies to help people like my mother and needy children?" Arya looked at Logan, hope rising. She squeezed his hand. "We will do it, for the future." They embraced, ready for the journey ahead. 6 months passed like a gentle composition, from chilly October in Seattle to warm March, with spring breezes carrying the scent of blooming flowers down the glittering streets of Los Angeles. Arya stood on the big gala stage in an old LA theater, chandeliers sparkling like artificial stars, reflecting across the smooth white silk of her gown. Applause that began timidly swelled like thunder as she sat at the glossy black piano, fingers gliding over keys to play her father's music. Each note flowing, full of feeling. The dark clouds of past pain dissipating, the promise of the future bright as morning sun. The scent of piano wood filled the air, mixed with murmurs from the audience. American radio story lovers now sitting silent, tears falling as the music touched their hearts. Arya spoke nothing. She let her playing tell the story, fingers trembling slightly at the climaxes, breath steady like a whispered philosophy. Music is not just notes but a bridge that heals. The final applause came as a reward for personal triumph. Harmony Empire flourished, and she, once a poor girl, was now an inspiring symbol. A thoughtful question lingered in her mind. Will this journey reach others? Those 6 months brought gentle change, with a lasting romance like a calmly flowing river, multicolored in the quiet family moments. One morning in their small home near Seattle, the smell of toast drifted from the kitchen. Arya woke beside Logan, warmth from his body behind her, his hand stroking gently like a spring breeze. "Good morning, my wife," he murmured, his deep voice near her ear, his blue eyes catching hers in the mirror, making her heart beat like a soft melody. They cuddled, sharing a tender kiss and small laughter when he teased, "You sleep better than you play piano." A teasing laugh that made her blush and feel joy blossoming. Liam tumbled into the bed, hugging them both and shouting, "Our family is awake!" And they all laughed, breath mingling in that moment, the warmth of Logan's skin and Liam's childlike breath forming layers of protection that healed old wounds. Arya squeezed Logan's hand and whispered, "Thank you. Forever." A promise that rang like an endless song. A love as steadfast as an old oak, no longer afraid of being hurt, only peaceful and warm. Family orange warmth, gentle, dependable blue. Founding Hidden Melodies became their mission, a program to teach piano to poor children, sowing hope like seeds on barren ground. In a small Seattle studio, the scent of new piano wood mingled with children's laughter as Arya taught a group, including a second little one, a 6-year-old formerly homeless boy named Ethan. His large, innocent eyes sparkled as his tiny hand touched keys for the first time, trembling like a new leaf in the wind. "Sir, did I play well?" Ethan asked Logan in a thin voice. Logan smiled and lifted the boy to his lap. "Very well, kiddo. You're a star." Laughter erupted as Ethan played chaotically, notes scattering like a joyful rain. Arya smiled through tears, moved by the child's pure honesty. A child who once wandered as she had, now finding hope through music. Sarah, Arya's mother, joined as a volunteer, hands shaking as she guided Ethan, eyes bright. "Son, let your heart speak." Words that made Arya reflect, and hope ripple outward like waves. Fresh green for new beginnings, golden for a bright future. Arya watched Logan and Liam play with Ethan, emotions layered like a each painting. Warm pride like late sunlight, deep longing like shadowed memory, and brilliant hope like dawn. A curious question glimmered. Can Mother Sarah be fully healed through this program? They embraced, ready to spread more. Spring arrived in Seattle, warm breezes carrying primrose scents down the streets. A gentle reminder of renewal after long winter days. Arya walked a familiar sidewalk, hand in hand with Liam. Now slightly older, steps steadier, his big eyes still bright with childlike wonder. Beside them was Ethan, once homeless, now a member of Hidden Melodies, his small hand clasped in Arya's, shouting, "Miss Arya, today I get to really play the piano." Arya smiled and ruffled his hair, feeling the warmth of these little souls. A multicolored picture, childlike joy bright as sunshine, past longing deep as violet dusk, and future hope warm as family orange. They pushed open the doors of Bella Elegance, the upscale restaurant where it all began. The bell chimed like an old greeting. Roasted chicken and fresh-baked bread scents filled the air, and memories of the day she begged to play the piano in exchange for a meal returned. Mocked then, vindicated by talent. Now there was no mockery, only admiration in the diner's eyes, like fate coming full circle. Manager Carter, who once sneered at her, now stepped forward with a genuine smile and a firm handshake. "Ms. Thompson, welcome back. The stage is yours." Arya nodded, a philosophical thought flowing through her. Music and love don't just change one life. They ripple out and heal social wounds, from wealth gaps to family loss. She led Liam and Ethan to the familiar black piano. The old wood gave a soft creak under their weight as her fingers touched keys like touching memory. The first note rose gentle as spring wind and swelled like ocean waves. Her father's music blended with melody for Liam. Liam sat beside her, tiny hand on a key, and cried out, "Can I play with you, Mom?" Making Ethan giggle. Children's laughter rang like a colorful bridge that eased the solemn air. Ethan's playful chaos produced notes like a joyful shower. Diners listened, some with tears on their cheeks, bearing witness to a truth. Live with optimism. Help others. A single moment can change a life. Logan stood in the corner, his deep blue eyes fixed on her, bouquet in hand, sandalwood perfume a soft reminder of steadfast love. Sarah sat beside him, eyes shining as she watched her grandson and Ethan. Small souls she now helped through the program, the way she had been rescued from darkness. The piece ended and applause rolled like thunder. But Arya merely smiled, inwardly full. Memories of her father and husband bittersweet as cold coffee. Family joy bright as morning sun, and life's meaning warm as embers that heat broken lives. Music and love change lives, she whispered to Liam, hugging him close. His tiny warmth felt like a protective shell, and her heart trembled. The value of life is not wealth but spreading hope and helping others, as her father had. A happy ending swelled like a perfect symphony, multi-hued in meaning. Children's laughter bright as gold, a gentle ease like spring breeze, hope warm as a family embrace. As everyone reunited beneath Bella Elegance's warm lights. Logan stepped onto the stage and hugged Arya and Liam, Sarah smiling through tears, Ethan bouncing like a new family member. Relief breathed out like white clouds after a storm. Smiles bloomed like flowers, and thoughtful nods affirmed a simple philosophy of optimism. Logan whispered in her ear, "You are my forever." His hand stroking her cheek, skin-to-skin warmth sending waves of happiness. This love was steady and wholly healing, the past no longer casting shadows. Liam, meanwhile, taught Logan to play poorly, placing his tiny hand over Logan's and shouting, "Daddy, play like this," making Logan laugh warmly. The clumsy notes teased Liam, each messy sound like a playful breeze that made everyone laugh, filling the air with lively happiness. Arya held Liam, eyes locked on Logan. Two souls who found one another after hardship, a fitting close to the journey. Live with hope, help others, because love and music can change everything. And if you followed this far, don't forget to like and subscribe to True Millionaire Moments and share this story with loved ones. Help us spread the message. Everyone deserves a second chance. Talent can shine through any hardship. Thank you for listening.